Greetings, boys and girls. Hope everybody is doing great out there. This has got to be the longest project that I've ever worked on. It's been 2 months in the making of both the video and this system. And you know, even though I don't have a lot of nostalgia about this little gaming unit, the thing is, though, is that it was the most challenging that I've ever encountered. And you know what? It is my pleasure to go and bring this to you. Because I tell you something, this is not so much of a how-to video. This is much more of a gaming life journey right here. And you're going to be a part of it here on Dr. Crasher. Yeah. Shortly before the pandemic, I decided I was going to move into one of the big cities. I was looking for a new home, a new place to stay. And then by chance, I decided to go ahead and hook up with one of my old girlfriends, Melanie. And she took me all around the cool places that were here in the city. We sightseed. This was a lot of fun. And anyways, one of our favorite places to go to was Goodwill, especially the Goodwill distribution centers. And you wouldn't believe all the crap that they had at these distribution centers. They had clothing, all kinds of tools, they had all kinds of furniture and all kinds of shit, electronics. And you know, along with going to these places and buying stuff on pennies on the dollar, I also enjoyed going to the pawn shops. And then, just by chance, at one of the pawn shops, they had one of the old Xbox systems, which I knew nothing about. But you know what? The thing that caught my eye is that this thing was only $20. And I'd heard about them, and I remember them back in the early 2000s, but I really didn't pay attention to it because I wasn't into gaming at that time. And so I went ahead and I asked the guy there at the pawn shop, I said, "Hey, does this thing work?" He says, "You bet your ass it works." And he plugged it in for me, turned it on, and sure enough, the damn thing did work. So I went ahead and I purchased it, I brought it home, I set it on the shelf, and there it sat there for 5 years, collecting dust while I did nothing. Well, sure enough, about 5 years later, one of my big buddies, Eric, also known as Darth Snorlax over there on TikTok and also Twitch, came over. He says, "Dude, I can't believe you've got one of these." I said, "What's so great about it?" He says, "Man, this is the original Xbox. This was the first one. This is the one that set off the revolution between Microsoft and PlayStation." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, still, what makes it so special?" He said, "Dude, you would not believe all the games this thing has. It's absolutely amazing. You should mod it and clean it up and stuff and add it to your museum." So I thought about it for a little bit there, and then a couple of months later, I started looking into the old Xbox, and sure enough, I couldn't believe the huge community that's out there of folks going out there and modifying this thing, adding things to it, making it incredible. You know, there was no nostalgia to it, but you know, this thing looked like it was going to be really, really challenging. And you know what? I love challenges. And by the way, looking at all the games that was available for this thing and getting on YouTube and looking at the quality and the fun stuff that was about them, man, all I got to say is, yeah, game on. One of the rules that I never break, and that is that I will not touch or mod a system unless I make sure that I have all the games first. And sure enough, over here at Internet Archive, look at that. Xbox hard disk drive ready games. Haha, no messing with ISOs or any of that crap. Look at this. And not only is it American titles that's available, but holy shit, it even has the Japanese titles that's this. You know, this is fantastic. It looks like I have access to all the games, all the things that I'm going to need for this. This is great. R through Z here, my goodness. We've got everything from all the numbers to all starting from A all the way to Z. And you know what? We even have access to the OXM disc, which was those magazine discs I remember from long, long time ago. Well, this is absolutely an all go for me. Because if the games weren't available, or if I couldn't find them, there's no damn way I was going to go and touch this thing. But you know what? Now that I've got them and I've downloaded them, haha, baby, once again, it's game on. When it comes to modding your Xbox, everyone is going to come to a fork in the road. They're going to have to make a decision. Are you wanting to soft mod your Xbox, or are you wanting to hard mod your Xbox? Now, there's no real right or wrong decision to make. It simply depends on what are you wanting to do with your Xbox, where are you wanting to go with it exactly. And one is easier than the other. In fact, I have had 2 months of working on my Xbox, and I've actually done both methods with my Xbox, so I could tell you a little bit about this here, and that's exactly what I'm about to do. So here we go. Now, when it comes to soft modding is the easiest of either procedure. It takes only maybe about 30 minutes to about an hour to do. It involves very, very little effort. In fact, it's very easy to do. In fact, the only thing that's really involved in it is maybe a specialized DVD tool set or some kind of a USB disk that you can actually, the USB drive that you can actually plug into the unit by using a specialized cable into one of the joystick ports. It's very, very easy to go and soft mod and update. Now, you may be wondering, like, well, what exactly is soft modding? Well, the Xbox was created back in 2000, so it had limitations back then compared to what our gaming systems now did. But back then, it was state of the art. And inside of these units, they had what was called a BIOS. Now, you may not know exactly what a BIOS is, and that's okay, because I'm about to tell you generically what a BIOS really is. So let's take a look at that. A BIOS, for the most part, is a chip that has an instruction set inside of it that when you first turn on your Xbox, it turns on and it has basically a basic instinct. And its goal is to try to find out if it has a hard drive attached to it and what size of a hard drive or what kind of a hard drive does it have. Does it have a DVD drive, and what kind of a DVD drive does it have? Does it have audio? Does it have video? Does it have this? Does it have that? It goes to look and see what is attached to it and then understand what it is that it has. And afterwards, its main goal, once it reaches that point, is to go and try to find something, either a hard drive or DVD drive, that it can reach out to, find an OS of some sort, an operating system or something, and pull it in order to become intelligent enough for you, the user, to be able to actually use it. So in other words, it goes from basically having the basic instincts of a child, and then all of a sudden it kicks in going into kindergarten and going to 12th grade in a matter of seconds as it's trying to go and learn about the OS and trying to pull everything in order to become intelligent. That is what a BIOS is right there. And back then in 2000, the BIOSes had certain limitations. Now the limitations back then, they were even looked at as limitations. They were amazing back then. But as time has gone on, computers have become better, things have become more advanced, and so therefore we look back at that old technology and that old BIOS and says, man, we could do so much more than what we could do back then. And that is why, mostly, that's why folks go into hard modding. Now, before I go any further here, for the most part, you're not going to have to rip open your Xbox to do a soft mod, unless you're wanting to change out the hard drives. And you can change out your hard drives, and usually most people do, because the original Xbox hard drives were about 40 gigabyte in size. And in fact, that's not very much space at all, especially if you're going to be saving your games onto the hard drive to be able to make it portable to play and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there was a big limitation. And in fact, the Xbox itself can be modded, soft modded, to handle up to 2 terabytes. Now, by today's standards, that may not be a lot, but for back then, that was freaking amazing. And so we use tools like Xbox soft modding tools and so forth to be able to reprogram the BIOSes and the information inside the Xbox to actually go away from the limitations of having a 40 gig drive to actually being able to use a 2 terabyte drive. But there's a problem right there. If you're a games collector like me and you want to put all your games onto the hard drive, 2 terabytes is not enough hard drive space to hold all that. That's where the problem comes in. And so if you're one of those that's like, you just want to collect your favorite games and put your favorite games onto the hard drive, and you 2 terabytes, that's plenty of space for you. That's great. If you're a big time game collector like me and you want everything, this is not going to work. You're going to need to hard mod it. Now, there's 2 websites from old Mario here that you're going to absolutely love. Go over there, watch them, take a look at them. I think you're going to like them. They're excellent. So if you're wanting to learn about soft modding, go over there and watch them. You'll find out how easy it is, and you can start right away. Now, when it comes to hard modding, this is a little bit different right here. Now, Like I was saying earlier, the Xboxes back in 2000, they had their BIOS and they had limitations. Hard modding is where you actually start ripping open the Xbox and you start adding things like chips and boards and soldering and modifying the original motherboard to whereas it can accept and do more than what it was originally intended to do. In fact, when you go and you start modifying and you start updating the BIOSes itself, you'll be able to tell that there's different BIOSes out there that have programs in that are far more advanced. And there's options out there. You've got the Evo X Xbox, and of course, the one that a lot of people are raving about is called the SirBIOS type of BIOS. And this right here, I've got to say, I'm really impressed with SirBIOS. It's amazing. And what's really great about SirBIOS is because with all the games that are available out there for the Xbox right there, this can really expand along with one of these special BIOS boards built or put into the Xbox. You can really expand your collection. You can choose to go up to like maybe a 4 terabyte drive instead of the limited 2 terabyte drive with soft modding, or you can go up to an 8 terabyte drive. And in some circumstances, you can go right straight up to a 16 terabyte drive. In fact, that is absolutely bazonko, because believe me, that will hold a hell of a lot more than all the games combined. In fact, the 4 terabyte will absolutely hold all the games ever created by Xboxes. But you know, that is what the goal of hardware modifying your Xbox on the motherboard level is going to be all about. It's going to be about the games, being able to cram everything you can into it, including emulators to run other console games, and being able to do a lot more than what the Xbox was ever intended to be used for. So, that's your decisions. That's where you stand. Since I decided that I'm going to be hard modding the system, I decided to go ahead and grab one of these 4 terabyte really good industrial type drives. It's a 7200 RPM drive, SATA drives. And I'll tell you, this drive right here will be able to hold every single game ever made for the Xbox. So this is definitely the way that I'm wanting to go with this. And the second thing that I'm going to be grabbing is one of these 80-pin IDE connectors. Now, working with the new StarTech SATA to IDE connectors right here, they don't use the old 40-pin connectors, and it just simply won't work that it originally comes with the Xbox. So I've got to grab one of these 80-pin IDEs, else the project's not going to work. Now, the third thing that I'm going to need to go and get is a network cable, because the Xbox has actually a network connection in the back of it that will allow me to connect this cable into it and then plug into the next device, which is called a switch. And also with that switch, I'll be able to connect my PC up to it and be able to transfer files from my PC through the switch to the Xbox to go ahead and complete the project, and even upload games and do all kinds of other neat stuff. Now, one thing I want to mention is the StarTech SATA to IDE connector right here. This is probably one of the most critical components of this entire project. You can identify it by the red board, of course, if it's a StarTech, because this right here will, the original Xbox used an IDE type of connector. And well, that's old technology from back in 2000. So we're needing a kind of a board that will go and transfer data to the brand new SATA drives that we have nowadays. And this little board has been proven extremely reliable and dependable. Now, there's a lot of other boards that's out there that are green and whatever. People on Reddit say, man, these are trash. Don't use them. Stick with the StarTech boards. These things are amazing. You know, even if it costs a little bit more, the heck with it. Go ahead, buy them, stick with them, okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to need is I'm going to need some kind of a cable system right there. It's going to be able to connect my SATA drive to an IDE port or to my USB port. And I decided to go ahead and get this this IDE to USB adapter kit right here. And what this is going to do is that once I mount my SATA IDE connector from StarTech to my hard drive, I'll be able to connect my hard drive over into my PC that uses a USB port, and I'll be able to work with the partitions that's on it. So I've got to get me one of these kits right here. Now, one of the things I did decide to do is go ahead and grab me a long time ago, one of these high-powered 250, 500 watt power supplies with a switch built in. And what I did is I went and I modded this power supply that whenever I turn it on, it doesn't need to be plugged into some kind of a motherboard in order to turn on. In fact, there's ways to go ahead and jerry-rig the thing to whereas whenever you flip the switch, it automatically turns on. And they used to use back in the old days, they would go and loop wires into the connectors in order to go in and basically make the connection work. And they came up with all kinds of neat solutions like connectors that would plug into the power connector with a switch built into it. I simply opened up this device and then I went and I soldered some joints in there. So anytime that I turn on the power switch, it works like a champ. Now the thing that I'm going to need after that is I'm going to need to go and get some original type of Xbox DVD-ROM drive belts. Because you can bet after 20 years, the drive belts that make the DVD slide come in and out are going to be old and worn out. So I went ahead and I grabbed a pair of this right here. And I also went over and I started doing some research about getting HDMI out of my Xbox. And there was a lot of expensive methods and there was a lot of crap methods. But I came across this thing that's amazing from what I've seen on the reviews and the results. It's called the Electron X-Out HDMI video connector. This thing right here is absolutely freaking amazing from what I've seen. And you know what? I decided I'm going to have to buy one of these also. Now, one of the other things I decided to buy on eBay is Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell DVD. Now, you may be wondering, well, why are you buying a game? What's this got to do with going and modding an Xbox hardware-wise? You don't understand this. This CD right here, or actually this DVD, is very, very, very critical when it comes to actually updating the dashboard that we're going to have to do and working on fixing a mod for the Xbox. So this DVD, even though it's very, very inexpensive and it's a game, it's going to provide services for us that we're going to need that are going to be critical. Now, another thing that I went ahead and decided to get was that I went and got me a DVD drive. And I love this DVD drive. It's very inexpensive. It plugs into your USB. And with it, I'm going to be able to burn DVD discs with programs on it that I'm going to be able to use on the Xbox to go ahead and modify it and put on dashboards, add applications, and so forth. So I grabbed me one of these. And last, I went ahead and I got me the DVD-R discs. Now, there's several discs out there like DVD plus R. Don't get those. Get the DVD minus R type disc. You know, some people have been fighting back and forth, which one's better, whatever. Just get the DVD minus R. You can find these at Office Depot or other place or online. Grab these right here. They're very reliable. I've tested them. They work on the Xbox. Trust me on this one. Get these right here. Man, this poor Xbox looks like it's went through hell. Well, there's only one way to find out exactly what kind of a condition this poor girl is in, and that is to go ahead and unscrew it. So, of course, there's screws in all four corners of this, and there's two other places that you've got to unscrew. And then we go ahead and we lift off the case here, and what do you know? There's the hard drive, there's the DVD-ROM. Looking good so far, but look at this. There's rust on the case. What the hell? This is unusual. Rust? In an Xbox? So I go ahead and I start taking the hard drive and removing it from the unit right here and having to deal with the wiring, and I'm having to go and take the DVD and remove it also from the system. And let me tell you, what I see next is a nightmare. This thing is completely rusted out, and there is some kind of caked on crap of dirt and dust all over this motherboard. In fact, it looks like that this was probably stored in some kind of a moist environment in order to cause this kind of rust. Probably stuck out in a shed someplace or an attic or basement, someplace where there was a lot of humidity over time. Man, this crap is horrible. It's a miracle it's even working. I mean, I'm really in shock. In fact, I looked at the clock capacitor. It looked okay because those have been known to explode and like cause mayhem. And I'm looking at these right here. These are the power supply capacitors. They're all bubbled at the very, very top and look like they're ready to explode. Man, this thing is a nightmare just ready to happen. You know what? It's a lucky thing that I went and I got here in time before this damn disaster was to occur. Now, I guess what I'm going to need to do is go ahead and replace these capacitors. So in my parts catalog that I had shown you before, I'm going to have to buy some capacitors and replace some of these. My God, look at this rust and look at the condition and the baked on crap that's on this board. I don't know if I'm going to be able to clean this up and get her up, but it's just a miracle she's even working. Wow. Well, looks like it's time to start cleaning this thing. And would you look at this? I'm removing the hard drive from this. It's like, look at this hard drive tray with the spider webs and everything. It looks like something from the Addams Family. This is hilarious. And of course, what I'm going to use to go and clean is I'm just going to use some standard old Windex because it's pretty safe with electronics and plastic. So, yeah, it's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the original hard drive, knock the dust off of it, and get that all ready so I can set to the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean the hard drive tray, make sure it looks really good, knock all the dust off of it because it is what it is. And then I'm going to grab the DVD-ROM and I'm going to take the nice little cover off of it and inspect. And you know what? It's a little dirty, but not too bad. Hey, I see a couple of dust bunnies on the inside and not a problem. And so it will be easy to clean. But you know what? That's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern right here is what's called the little belt. Because the number one failure of these drives right here with not being able to spit the tray out in order for you to put a DVD in and then kick it out, put it in, so forth, is this little belt. This belt is a nightmare. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just position this real quick. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the belt that's right here and I'm going to go ahead and move it over the sprockets and show it to you exactly what it looks like. This is an old belt. Notice it looks like an egg. You can definitely tell there's something not right with this belt. Actually, this belt has probably been sitting in place for a long time, and it's actually shaped this for a long time. So let's take a look at what a brand new belt looks like. Now, a brand new belt is round, and you can definitely tell there's a big difference. Let me tell you something, boys and girls. This belt was definitely in need of being replaced right here. And replacing the belt is really simple. You just place it over the sprocket and then click and then that's it. Hey, look at that. It goes and it works just fine. Now the tray will absolutely have no problems going in and out in order to load our DVDs or to eject our DVDs. It won't be no problems at all now. This right here, this little belt, this will fix it all. I've just got to go and clean the DVD drive. Wow. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some Windex because the Windex is good. And I'm going to go and clean the lasers on this thing. And I'm going to go ahead and clean up the inside of the DVD, get rid of the little dust bunnies that's in it, clean it all up. She looks good. What do you know, right? Haha. Fantastic. Thank you, Windex. And look at this. Hitting the eject button, the tray comes out and the tray comes in. No problems. Fixing and replacing that belt really did the trick. Haha, good job. Yep, that is something to remember. Absolutely. Now, the next thing I'm going to be working on is removing this motherboard. And holy shit, there's a lot of screws in this thing, but you know what? Hey, it is what it is, right? I'm really concerned with what is underneath this motherboard. The condition of the rusted metal screen underneath. I am terrified as to what I'm about to find. Oh my gosh. And looking, holy shit. I'm removing the power supply now, and would you look at that metal tin bottom. I didn't know that it had so much iron in this thing. I mean, this is a rust bucket right here. Jesus Christ. Oh my Lord. Wow. Gonna have to clean this. And looking at the power supply, hey, it looks to be in good condition. I don't see any burnt problems with it. I don't see any problems with the connections in the back. I don't see any problem with the traces right there. It doesn't look like that this thing has actually been used that much. It's kind of crazy. It's almost like they bought it, they played a little while, and then they stored it in some damp area. Weird. Well, anyways, 24 hours later, I went ahead and I took the motherboard and the power supply, and I decided to take a tray, filled it full of alcohol, and then let it sit there and soak for 24 hours. And then once I went ahead and removed it, I took the toothbrush and a paintbrush and I started going over all the components, everything that was on the board. And you know what? It cleaned up with not a problem. Look at this, looking sweet. Whew, that was a close one. Even underneath it, doesn't look like the rust really affected anything underneath this. Thank goodness, because I was really worried about that. And when it comes to the power supply, I'm looking at the capacitors, I'm looking at all the components on here, I'm looking at everything, and I really do not see any problems or troubles that could be occurring with this. And look at this. This is all the crap that came off of the motherboard and the power supply, all the dirt from the alcohol pulled off of it. Anybody hungry want to make some brownies? I don't think so. So anyways, I went ahead and I took the case while I was at it. I cleaned it up and I sprayed it up with some Rust-Oleum. That way we would be able to cover up some of those rust areas and hopefully try to prevent this from happening again. And of course, I went ahead and I grabbed the metal screen that was on the inside of it. I tried to knock off some of the rust that was in it. Went ahead and sprayed it with some black linoleum or black spray and the linoleum rust type spray that would go ahead and prevent rust. Hope this works. Sure does look good. So here are the new power supply capacitors, including the little clock capacitors that we're going to do. Well, I shouldn't say power supply capacitors, but they are definitely power capacitors that help out with the GPU and the CPU. And as you can see, these freaking little monsters right here, they have a dome at the very top of them. That means they're about to explode. And also, we're going to tackle the infamous clock capacitor, which is known to go and leak out acid in the area and destroy motherboards. So that baby right there, we're going to definitely be getting rid of that piece of crap and replacing the other capacitors. So this should be fun. Now it's easy. We're just going to go ahead and take the capacitors, desoldering them off the board and removing them, and then putting on the new capacitors right here. Now, of course, I'm kind of in a rush, so I'm not going to use a regular soldering iron. I can resolder these in with my desoldering iron. I've been doing this shit for decades, so this right here, it's a walk in the park. It's a piece of cake, no problem. And here we are. We've got the brand new power capacitors put into place. The tops of them are flat. Fantastic. Good job. No problems here. And also, we replaced the clock capacitor, which has been notorious with destroying motherboards. And it's hard to believe, but yeah, this little demon right here can put a world of hurt on your ass if you don't be careful and replace it. And this right here is going to be the next session that we're going to be looking at. This right here is the section where we're going to mount the new BIOS board onto. This right here is a little area that we're going to be soldering in some pin connectors that will actually allow us to mount the new BIOS board from Aladdin onto this and replace the old BIOS board that's on this. This will give us a larger hard drive capacity. Oh man, I can't believe it. After connecting the motherboard back with the power supply and turning everything back on, holy shit, we run into the dreaded error 16 and also the error 13. Oh, what are we gonna do? It's terrible. I know, we'll just package everything back up, ship it off to old Microsoft for some fucking warranty repair, right? Nah, not gonna be that easy because you know what? It hasn't been available for decades and nobody's gonna be coming to our rescue. Except maybe, just maybe, eBay. Yeah, remember these guys right here? Well, guess what we purchased from them? We purchased the Tom Clancy DVD, the Splinter Cell DVD, the original one. None of the other crazy platinum and all that stuff. We got the original one. Now, there's a little thing I want to let you know. Anytime, and actually I shouldn't say anytime, sometimes when we replace the time capacitor, that little clock capacitor that's on the motherboard, sometimes it will knock the clock off and actually mess up the dashboard and other things that's on this freaking little Xbox, especially on the hard drive. And what we have to do is turn off our freaking Xbox, turn it back on, take this DVD right here, stick it into the DVD tray, close it, and we may have to power on, power off, power on, power off a couple times. But eventually, this DVD is going to boot up. And when it does boot up, what it's going to do is that it's going to go and install its own version of a dashboard onto our hard drive. This is going to allow us to go to a clock and then readjust the clock settings, put in the proper time, and guess what? Both of those errors are going to disappear. So actually, thank you, Splinter Cell. Thank you, Tom Clancy, whoever the hell you are, whatever. Thank you for being such a nice little game that installs a new dashboard onto our hard drive and allows us to fix this stupid maniac frickin' error. Introducing the Aladdin BIOS chip. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this baby right here is going to go and replace our current BIOS that is on the Xbox. Actually, it's going to bypass it. Because you see, currently our Xbox has a limitation of 2 terabytes when it comes to hard drive space. Plus it has other limitations. Well, this little chip right here, when we get it mounted into our Xbox, is going to actually be able to go and get rid of those limitations. Instead of a 2 terabyte hard drive limitation that we currently have with our Xbox, we'll actually be able to mount hard drives that are 4 terabytes, 8 terabytes, 16 terabytes into our hard drive and be able to hold so many games and do so many things and take the Xbox beyond its original, what it was originally created for. But this little baby right here actually comes with a little red board. It's easy to go and recognize. And it even comes with these little pin connectors, which we'll be taking these pin connectors and soldering it to the motherboard and then mounting this little BIOS board right on top of it. So it's going to be kind of cool. Now, one of the things I want to let you know is that there's plenty of instructions out there on the internet. They'll let you know all about this BIOS board, how to connect it to your Xbox, and the different versions of motherboards that are out there of Xboxes, so you can know how to wire it up properly according to each board's model number and so forth. And one of the things I have to warn you about is that when it comes to this board, these boards right here were amazing in their day. But for some reason, the original creators, for some reason, are gone. And so there's been a lot of these little Chinese knockoffs. And one of the Chinese knockoffs at first I bought, and I bought it from Walmart. I found these chips over here for like $7 or $8, and I thought, oh man, this is really cool. And I bought one, and guess what? The freaking chips that are on the inside of it are supposed to be flashable, meaning that I could program with whatever BIOS I want, whether it's Evo X or for Sir BIOS, I could be able to go and flash these and program these. Well, they had knockoff chips that were not flashable. And you know what? This was a big freaking pain in my ass. So you got to make sure, don't be buying these freaking boards from these stupid little Walmart outlets and these other little companies, because they're nothing but ripoffs. Now, when it comes to the original board, you could actually go ahead and replace the chips and get rid of those knockoff chips and actually put chips in there that are flashable, and then take a nice little device like a burner or something, plug it into your PC and program it manual that way. Sure, that's one solution that's available to us. It's a pain in the butt, but yes, it is available to us. As you can see, this is what an example is of what an Evo X BIOS, once it's flashed onto this little thing, looks like. It's fairly different. You notice the little pink little emblem that it puts on there. Well, this baby can easily handle a 4 terabyte drive and do other things. A lot of people like Evo X and so forth. I'm going ahead and go with something else differently. I'm going to go with Sir BIOS. Sir BIOS, from what everybody I have read on the internet and Reddits and so forth, everybody loves this damn thing. It's very powerful and is very well supported. And if you want to know what it looks like when you boot up, take a look at it. At this point, if you're thinking, gee, Dr. Crasher, this damn thing looks like a total pain in the ass. Look at all the crap that I've got to spend money and buying and stuff. Look at all the shit that I'm going to have to go through with trying to mod one of these. Man, this thing is nothing but a pain in the ass. All I wanted to do was to have my Xbox right here where I could load my games and start playing it. I really don't have the time and I really don't have the motivation to actually go through what the hell it is that you're talking about. Believe me, folks, I completely understand. And I was there at one point during this nice little journey that I'm taking. But you know, that's just it. I decided that this was not an how-to video so much as it was a personal journey of me going and tackling the Xbox. Because like I said, I had no nostalgia in it whatsoever. But I wanted the challenge. And you know what? I've gone from absolutely knowing nothing about the damn Xbox to knowing a pretty good amount about it now. And you know, I completely feel you. I understand where you're coming from. And that's why I want to go ahead and offer you an alternative. Now, I want to let you know that out here on the net, places like Alp Repair here on Facebook, these folks and amongst other folks are available out there. Whereas if you was to get an Xbox and you don't want to go through all the bullshit and all the trouble that I'm showing you right here, you can actually take your Xbox, you can actually send it to these folks. And for not very much money, actually, when you take a look at all the equipment that I'm having to buy to modify this thing, if you send it to them, they'll go ahead and they'll modify and set up your Xbox and get it ready for you how you want. They can put in the mod chips for you. They can go ahead and set it up with SurBIOS. They can set up the new hard drive, the larger hard drive, like a 4, 8, or 16 terabyte drive. They can do all of this stuff right here, and they get it set for you and ship it back to you. And it's ready to run, ready to go. All you got to do is load the games in it. In some instances, these folks will even load games up into it for you. And I know that one of the places besides Alp Repair over here on Facebook, there's other great places that I looked at. There's places like Retro 6. Retro 6, when I went to their website and I started looking, and even though these folks are not based in the United States, they're based in the UK, they do have Xbox modding services. Now, they may be a little bit more expensive than the services that are over here in the United States, and the shipping may be costing a lot more stuff, but I want to just let you know that there are alternatives. You don't ever have to feel like you're not going to be able to have the Xbox of your dreams simply because you don't want to go through the crap or you don't feel like you can do it. All right, there are people out here that can help you. And in fact, over here at Retro 6, I actually found the mod chip that I was needing, the Aladdin mod chip with the flashable BIOS on here. And you know, over here, it was a little bit more expensive, but I didn't give a crap at the time. I just wanted something that worked, something that I could use. And so I went ahead and I talked to old Luke over here, who basically is like the big boss of the entire place. And you know what? I spoke to Bloke and I went ahead and I said, Luke, I got a problem here. I want to buy this from you right here, and I understand that you actually offer a service of going ahead and flashing this chips for us. I'm going to give you a tip. Can you go ahead and flash this BIOS with SurBIOS for me? He said, you know what? We just had an Xbox come in that I'm going to be needing to modify, so this will be the perfect time for me to do this. So yeah, go ahead and get one of these chips. I'll go ahead and flash it and modify and put the SurBIOS on there, and then go ahead and mail it to you. And unfortunately, it took about 2 weeks for me to get this son of a bitch. But let me tell you, once I got it in, hey, it was all good things. It had to go through customs and all this other kind of crap. But it was well worth the wait. It was a pain in the butt also, but it was well worth the wait. And so I want to let you know, there are alternatives out there for you if you're thinking that this mission is simply impossible or just not worth it. It's not for everybody, but it can be for you. One of the things that I bought off of eBay quite a while back was a great soldering iron. This soldering iron right here is very, very good. You know, there's all kinds of models out there. There's cheap models you can buy just for a few bucks, and there's some that are really expensive. I decided to go ahead and go midway. And the reason why I chose this type of soldering iron is because of the tips. You see, you always want to get a soldering iron that actually is not going to get outdated. A lot of the cheap soldering irons are here today, gone tomorrow. You can't find tips for them. You have to throw the whole damn thing away. Well, this one right here uses common tips, and they go all the way from little micro tips to edge tips to all kinds of neat stuff. And they're readily available, and they've been here, and they're going to be here tomorrow. So, I mean, these are reliable type of tips. They're common industry standard, and you want to get something like this. Now, another thing that you're going to want to do is go and get some of this blue wire. Now, this is 30 gauge type of wire right here, and it's very, very tiny. The reason why is that here in the next couple of segments, we're going to be going and having to solder this wire to some of the connections that's on the bottom of the Xbox. One of them in particular is called the D0 line. And it's a very, very, very tiny little connection that we're going to have to connect to. So we need something small like this 30 gauge wire. And this wire actually has to be small enough to whereas we can actually loop it through little holes that's already on the motherboard over there by the pin connector where we're going to be installing the BIOS, where it'll come out on the other side and I'll actually be able to solder it to the BIOS card itself. Now, another thing is that I highly recommend is getting some very small, tiny soldering wire right here. The soldering wire is very, very tiny. It's great for little projects like this. Solder, as you know, comes in various sizes. For this project right here, it's very micro tiny. I have to use a magnifying glass with this. And sometimes I have to use the magnifying glass on the camera on my phone to even magnify and see some of these places. But this right here is what you're going to need, okay? So get ready. The fun is about to begin. Well, here's the Aladdin mod chip that I went ahead and I got from over at Retro 6. And fortunately, according to good old Luke, it has the SirBIOS already flashed to the chip. So that's going to be awesome. Haha. Now, first look, it's really, really tiny. It's just a little small red board. But this little baby right here is going to actually replace the BIOS, or actually bypass the BIOS that's on the Xbox, replacing it. And this is going to allow us to go ahead and have our huge hard drives. I mean, 4 terabyte, 8, 16 terabyte. This is going to be the magic right here. Now, one thing I want to let you know is that this does come with a pin connector. And what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be soldering the pin connector into the motherboard. Now, the area that's on the motherboard right here is a small little area. It's got a bunch of holes on it. And we're going to go ahead and just insert it into this little slot right here. And then we're going to go and start soldering it in. And just using a little old soldering iron and our soldering, we're going to go ahead and just solder in this. And on the other side, I went ahead and I taped it to hold it in place while I was soldering. Now, one thing I want to let you know is that even though that this is being soldered onto the motherboard, you've got to be very careful on the next phase of going and mounting the little BIOS card onto this little pin set. And the reason why is because this is very fragile and it can actually push the little pins through onto the other side of the board and they'll disconnect from the little connections that's on the board. So you want to go and be very, very careful because, believe it or not, this is an accident waiting to happen. Here's the Aladdin BIOS chip with the BT side connected to ground. And it's really simple. I just take one of my blue wires and I go ahead and I solder it onto the BT connector. And then I go over here and I connect the other end to ground. And guess what? We're almost all set and ready to go. Haha! This is great. So here it is, my Aladdin with the long ass freaking blue loop wire, connecting BT to ground. Way to go. This next section is going to be easy. On the bottom of the Xbox motherboard, there's this area where there's these tiny little connections right here. And they're very, very close to the pin connectors that we soldered in earlier. Now, one of these small tiny connections is called D0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a strand of the blue wire that I had and I'm going to go and solder it to this D0 connection that's here underneath the motherboard. And I'm then going to go and loop the other end of the connection straight into the top side of the motherboard by going through a little opening that's over there by the pins. Now, once I get this wire soldered, or actually I get this wire pulled in the other way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tape the connector at D0, make sure that nothing can jar it loose and there's not going to be any accidents where it accidentally disconnects. And then later on, I'm going to go ahead and take that little wire right there and I'm going to solder it to the D0 connector that is on the Aladdin mod chip. Here's a picture of the Aladdin with the D0 blue wire soldered to it on the top side of the motherboard. Now this was relatively very, very easy. All I did was mount the Aladdin onto the little connector at the top, and then I soldered the blue wire in place at the D0 connector, and that was it. It was really, really simple. I can't believe how easy this was actually. But that is it. This is the close-up of what it looks like. And just to let you know, this motherboard, this Xbox, is officially hard modded. Haha, ready to go. Now if you're hell-bent on flashing your Aladdin little mod chip with SirBIOS. There's a couple of YouTube channels I think you should check out. There's one over here by Borderline where he takes an absolute stock Xbox and mods it all the way to the very end to where it can accept a 3 terabyte drive. And he even shows how he goes and flashes his Aladdin with the SirBIOS. So you want to check that out. There's also another site from the gaming guys that you definitely want to go and check out. He uses an ISO file that he got from Dark Destiny's neat little website, and he actually burned it to a DVD and now uses that DVD to go ahead and flash his Aladdin. If you want to, go check it out. I think it's going to be amazing. And you know, in the meantime, let's go take a look at Dark Destiny's site where that ISO file is that you're going to need to download. This is the place where the gamer guys went and got his disc. This is that Xbox scene. And this is Dark Destiny's post. And you see it's an OG Xbox SirBIOS disc. And you can go ahead and plug that into Google and find the URL if you're looking for this thing. It's easy to do. And when you start scrolling down, you'll actually see the artwork for the SirBIOS disc. This is perfect. This is an ISO little file that you're going to be downloading and burning to a DVD disc. As you keep scrolling down, you're going to see the download links for this. Now, don't download or use the Hitcher. Use the red one right here. Use the one from Mega. Use that link right there. Click on that link, download the ISO file, and then once you get that ISO file, begin the process of going and burning that ISO file to a DVD, which is up next. Once you download that ISO file from Dark Destiny's website, you're going to want to go ahead and take that DVD-ROM that you purchased off of eBay, the burner, and you're going to want to connect it by the USB port to either your PC or your laptop. And at that point in time, go out on the internet and try to find some really cool DVD burning software like ImageBurn. ImageBurn is a fantastic free piece of software that will easily be able to go and burn ISO files right straight onto your DVD. The contents of the image file itself in the ISO file will be easily converted over into the DVD format. And then, of course, there's great little programs like AnyBurn that will do the same damn thing. It's so easy right here. You know, you're simply burning an image file over into a DVD. Now, the type of DVDs that you're going to want to use, remember, is going to be DVD -R, not the DVD +R, not any other format. Don't be messing with any of that. Get you some DVD -R DVD discs and then get those and use those. 9 out of 10 times, they always work on the Xbox OG. It's what to get. You don't mess around, don't fool around, don't try to experiment. Get these, okay? Now, when you're done, you're going to have a disc that looks very similar to this. It's going to be a nice little blank disc with that image burned onto it, and you can then label it with the SirBIOS, and you're ready to go. At that point in time, go ahead, turn on your Xbox, put this disc into the DVD drive, and you may have to reboot it or whatever, but once you do, what this thing is going to do is it's going to go and boot up just like a regular gaming disc, and then you're going to be able to go through and follow along with the gaming guy's website, or actually his YouTube video, and then follow along and then simply flash your neat little Aladdin chip just exactly like how he does it. And if you don't like it that way, or if it doesn't work, remember, there's always the Borderline video. Go over there, look at what tools he's using, and you can download the image file from what he's using and burn that into a DVD and use it also. So there you go. Really, really simple. Probably the most critical and important DVD disc that you're going to need is the Rocky 5 little SoftMod Extras Tool Disc, or Tools Extra. And you can find that over here by going and doing a Google search, and you can easily find the GitHub of where this is located at. And when you find this right here, just go ahead and get ready and click on it right there and head on over to that direction. Now you're going to be over here at this place, and when you take a look, you're going to see all this stuff over here at GitHub, and you're wanting to go ahead and scroll on down and keep scrolling and scrolling. And even though you think the Xbox soft modding tool is the same thing, it's not. It's the extras disc that we're after, even though the soft mod disc is good to have. Now, you're going to want to come over here to this blue link that says download, and you're going to want to go ahead and click that thing, all right? Now, whenever you click that link, it's going to take you to a G drive right here. Now, it's not the file at the very bottom, the Xbox soft modding tool zip right there. from John Con, nah, that's not what you're wanting right there, even though that is great to have, and I highly suggest getting it. You'll want to go over here to the folders that says Extras Disk, all right? Now, once you get to the Extras Disk right there, go ahead and get into it. And do you see that file at the very bottom that says the Xbox Submodding or Soft Modding Tool Extras Disk ISO? That's the disk that you're going to want to download, because we're going to take that ISO file and we're going to burn it to the DVD. All right, this is an important disk. You've got to get it. Now, once again, you're going to have to get your DVD burner right here, and you're going to open up either Image Burn, which is good software, or you're going to go ahead and get AnyBurn. And you're going to have to go grab one of the DVD-R blank discs, and then with that ISO, you're going to burn that image onto a blank DVD disc right here, like the Rocky 5 Soft Modding Tools Extras. And this thing is going to be critical. You're going to be able to install dashboards, applications, and other critical tools and stuff onto your Xbox in order to get it up and working, especially with this freaking 4 terabyte drive. Trust me, you need this disc. Introducing the StarTech IDE to SATA IDE interface. This right here is the Seagate original 40 gig hard drive. Now, it uses an IDE interface that was very popular back in the 90s, and compared to today, it's very slow. And this is our 4 terabyte drive with a SATA interface. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of a difference when you do comparisons between the two interfaces. Interesting, huh? Now, this nice little device right here, the StarTech, what this is going to do is simply go and plug into the back end of the SATA connection that is on our 4 terabyte hard drive. Now, once we go and get this in, it's really easy to install. You just put it in, press, and you're there. Once we get this in, this 4 terabyte drive can now be used by our Xbox. Not only that, with proper interfaces, we can connect this to our PC or laptop through some kind of an IDE to USB interface, and then begin partitioning it and getting it ready to be used on the Xbox. Introducing our 4 terabyte drive. Now, this is the heavy duty enterprise level drive, so she requires a lot of power, and she's very, very durable. She's also very fast, spinning up at 7,200 RPMs, and I think she's fast enough for us. I'm also going to be using the good old StarTech IDE to SATA interface I showed you earlier. This is going to play a critical role. We also need one of these kits that will go and plug into the IDE interface or SATA interface, and then allow us to go and attach our hard drive right straight to the PC or the laptop, so we can format and partition it and get it ready to go and be used on the Xbox. Now, one of the terrible things I have to show you is that unfortunately it comes with a power supply that's just too weak to power up that enterprise level hard drive. It's a great little device, great concepts for it. It just doesn't have the power to be able to spin that baby up. And you know what? That's okay, because as I showed you earlier, we already have something. Introducing the 500 watt modified power supply that I told you about earlier. When I turn this baby on, it's definitely going to spin up this 4 terabyte hard drive. And with this nice little interface that's plugged in the back of the IDE port right there of the StarTech, well, as you can see, there's a cable that comes right straight out of it, and it goes right straight into the USB interface here on my gaming laptop. And I'll tell you something, from here, I'm going to be able to partition, format, do whatever I need to do to get this drive ready to be used on the Xbox. Once we get our 4 terabyte drive connected to our PC or our laptop, we're going to need to come on over here on the web, come to this website right here called Fat Explorer. Now, this is software that we're going to need to download and use in order to create partitions on the 4 terabyte drive that will be used by the Xbox itself. In fact, we'll be using partitions like C partition, there's going to be like a E partition, and there's going to be like an F partition. The E partition is going to be like for applications and so forth. F partition is going to be for the games. Anyways, let me go ahead and go through this for you real quick. That way we don't spend a lot of time on here. But anyways, as you scroll down on this, you're going to see that, well, we're going to have some files that's going to have to be downloaded and installed onto the computer. mostly the .NET 9, actually the .NET 9 desktop runtime, either for 32 or 64-bit versions. So you're going to have to install that first. And then when you scroll down lower, you're going to see that there's going to be the latest version, whether it's going to be an up-to-date or if it's going to be a beta version. Go ahead and download the Fat Explorer file that you're needing, that you're going to be wanting to use. It'll be a 64-bit or 32-bit, whichever one you're wanting to use. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and install it, load it up, and then we're going to go straight to formatting tools. And once we click on formatting tools, we're going to go and find this little screen up. Now we're going to want to choose the original Xbox hard drive, because that's how we're wanting to format the 4 terabyte drive. We're wanting to make it compatible with the original Xbox's hard drive. And so once we go from there, we go ahead and take a look. Sure enough, it does find the 4 terabyte drive device right there. Fantastic. Once you see it, go ahead and highlight it and then click next. And then you'll be sent over here to this screen where it's the BIOS selection. Now, we do have several selections right here. And of course, I chose the SirBIOS selection right here. So I went ahead and clicked it where it's circled in red. And then I clicked on the next button right here. And then when it comes to the SirBIOS hard drive or hard disk drive selection, I went ahead and chose the primary hard drive because it's the primary hard drive of the unit. And then I went ahead and I clicked next. And then from there, we see that it has an option to allow us to put a whole bunch of partitions on this hard drive. Now, what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to put like a C drive partition on here. We're going to put like an E drive partition, and we're going to put an F partition on here. The C drive is for system, and it's going to be for the system files and so forth that the Xbox uses. And as I said, the E drive partition is going to be for our applications, and the F drive is going to be for all the games, so where it's going to be stored at, right? So when it comes to all these other partitions, what you can do, if you see any of them that says yes, just right mouse click on them and you'll be able to shut it down and say no, we're not going to be using it, and then we'll go ahead and click next. Now at this screen right here, this shows the data partition E. We're going to see partition C and the partition F. Now, one thing I want you to take a really close look at right here. Notice that partition C, which is highlighted in green, is listed as only being 500 megabyte in size. Well, that's not going to be really large enough, and I want to give this system plenty of space right here to be able to load up as many system files. I want to give it plenty of breathing room to be able to do whatever it needs to do in the future right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that 500 megabyte to a 20 gigabyte partition. And when it comes to the data partition E that you see above, notice that it's set at 4.77 gigabytes. Well, that's not a lot of space either. I'm also going to increase that thing to 20 gigabytes. And when it comes to the F partition down here at the bottom, where it says 3.63 terabytes right here, I'm definitely going to be maxing that out. And that's it. After that, we go ahead and we click next. And like I said, when you right mouse click on these partitions, you'll go ahead and select format, and then you can adjust their size. And this little chart, like I said, I have on here shows basically what I'm planning to do with these partitions on here and how I'm trying to set them. And it's just that easy. So once you get these set up the way you like by right mouse clicking them and choosing yes, which is highlighted in green right here, showing that yes, we're going to be using these partitions, we just simply go to the next one. We choose our file sizes and so forth. I know that here on the F drive, I changed the allocation unit cluster size to 512 kilobytes. And there's a reason why I did that, because I want it to be a little bit faster. If I chose a smaller one, it may not be as efficient. It could slow it down. I want to go ahead and make this thing as fast booting wise as possible. And of course, like I said, I maxed out my size. So this is good right here. And like I said, this last page right here that I have, just read through it. After saving all of that partition information, you're practically done. What you're going to do is, when it comes to the Fat Explorer, If there's a possibility that you can come up to devices, you're simply going to eject the hard disk drive, and then you're going to go ahead and shut down the Fat Explorer, then unplug the USB cable. And now at this point in time, we're going to be ready to take the new hard drive and plug it into the Xbox. Now, once installed, we'll be using the DV disc like you saw the Xbox modding tools, like the Tools Extra disc. We're going to be using that. We could possibly be using the SirBIOS, but we'll definitely be using the Rocky 5 dashboard and the utilities and stuff. And by the way, just to let you know, this hard drive has partitions on it, but there's nothing on it to be able to boot. And that is why these other utilities and these other steps that I'm going to be showing you next is so critical to take in order to make sure that that hard drive is bootable in the Xbox. And so at this point, all we have to do is detach the 4 terabyte drive from the laptop or PC. We plug it into our Xbox. Bada bing, bada boom. We're ready to rock and roll, baby. So here, let's go on to the next step, shall we? Here we go. Now, just in case you didn't know it, the Xbox actually has a network connection in the back, and it uses an RJ45 connection right here. And that is where we're going to be going and using the cable that we bought over here on eBay. The Cat 5, Cat 6, either one will work. It's just great. But what we're going to do is use this cable right here to connect the Xbox up into this thing right here. It's called a switch. And with this switch right here, we're also going to connect our laptop or PC. Now, you probably already have one of these or something very similar because, you know, this is 2025. Almost everybody can share their internet that's in their home within, you know, their gaming systems and with their computers and stuff. But anyways, you're going to plug your PC's RJ45 or their network connection into this switch. You're going to connect the Xbox into this switch. And also what you're going to do is want to go and take your internet connection that you've got, your internet service, and also using the RJ45 coming out of its modem, you're going to want to plug it into the switch too. Because later on, you're going to want to go and download all kinds of neat little graphic art and so many other neat little things off the internet right straight into the Xbox that is going to make it an even better machine than what it is right now. Now, of course, if you really want to take a look at how this looks, it's really, really simple. You probably already know this information, but like I said, we're going to connect the G-Fiber up into the switch. We're going to connect the computer to the switch and the Xbox to the switch. Now, I want to let you know, the switch right here usually goes ahead is an internal network like mine is. And so it gives an automatic IP address, a DHCP address to the Xbox. In fact, when you turn on the Xbox and so forth and it's actually booted up, it's automatically assigned an IP address. And for my network, it's like 192.168.xxx.xxs, whatever. The generic password and username for this Xbox right here that we have on all Xboxes is simply Xbox in lowercase. And in order to connect into the Xbox, we have to go through port 21. And so that's it. We're going to go ahead and now connect ourselves up together and make sure that the Xbox can talk to our laptop or our PC. And we're going to be getting ready to go and send files over from the PC to the Xbox's hard drive in order to make it bootable. So this is going to be fun. Do you remember earlier when we went to that site and we downloaded the SirBIOS ISO file that was going to be used to create a DVD disc, which was to go and flash the Aladdin mod chip with SirBIOS and make it bootable and so forth? Well, this situation that I'm about to talk to you about is a little bit different. It involves SirBIOS, but you've got to keep this and that situation completely separate. You see, at this point, since we've got our hard drive plugged into the Xbox right now, and there's nothing installed on the hard drive, especially on the C partition, when we first turn it on, we're going to see this screen right here. It's called SirBIOS, you know, whatever. And you're going to see this screen, and it's going to basically just sit there, and there's not going to be any animations. There's not going to be anything really going on. It's going to sit there. And if you've got a DVD-ROM drive, and the DVD-ROM drive has like a DV inside of it, well then it probably might boot and do something. However, otherwise, if it doesn't, it's probably going to just sit here and then eventually probably error out because it doesn't have any kind of files on the C drive to tell the SirBIOS what the hell it wants to do. So that's where we need to come over here to this website right here. And actually, we're going to go ahead and Google it. We're going to go to the ogxbox.com, and we're going to be looking for the SirBIOS mirror right here, because what we're going to need to do is download some files that we're going to go and unzip and then upload to the C drive on our Xbox using a client. And whenever we do this and we boot up the Xbox, the BIOS, the SirBIOS that is on the Xbox is then going to go to the C drive. It's going to see these files, it's going to load them up, and it's going to boot properly. So anyways, you go to this site right here on Google, and then eventually over here you're going to see this right here where it says the SirBIOS mirror, and currently 2.4.2. It may be update by the time that you actually go over here and take a look at it. And then we go ahead and scroll on down, and then guess what? Take a look here. We go and we have these download links right here. Now, once again, I'm going to let you know, go to the Mega site if it's available. The Mega site is going to definitely have the file that you're wanting, and you're going to want to download from that. I know that Google has the Drive Mirror. You want to go to that probably, but trust me, go to the Mega because it's trustworthy, all right? I like it. It actually provides the files that we're going to need, which is the 7-zip file. Now, once we go to Mega, you're going to see this file available. This is called the SirBIOS the v2.4.2 beta.rar. At least you're probably going to see this file. And it's not a big file. It's 62.3 megabytes as the time of this making right here. And you're going to go ahead and click the download, and you're going to go ahead and download this file to your computer into a folder right here, like say for instance SirBIOS. And then using the 7-zip program or your unzipper, whatever that you use to unzip files with into folders, you're going to go ahead and use it, and you're going to unzip it into the folder called the SirBIOS v2.4.2 beta right here. All right. Now, once you get to this point, go ahead and double click into it, and there's going to be the folder right there, and we're going to go ahead and go into the folder, and then you're going to see all these files and folders that's inside of this, or something very, very simple. Now, you're probably going to see something called boot anims, and you're probably going to see at least the SirBIOS.ini file right there. Now, that right there just lets you know that, A, you're at the right location right here, because take a look right here, what's circled in red. This right here is the SirBIOS hybrid beta.bin. It's a bin file right here. Now there may be several different types of bin files and whatever version that you get, but what we're going to do is we're going to be turning this, we're going to be renaming this file into a BIOS file that the SirBIOS that is on the Aladdin mod chip is going to be able to pull in and be able to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this file right here, and we're going to rename it to BIOS.bin. Okay. And once we do this right here, we're going to go ahead and create another folder in this system that's called BIOS. And at this point right here, we're going to go ahead and take this BIOS.bin file that we just renamed, and we're going to cut and we're going to paste this sucker right straight into that folder right there that's called the BIOS. And so we're going to take it, cut it, paste it right straight into the BIOS subfolder. Bada bing, bada boom. That's where the SirBIOS BIOS file is going to reside right there. And at this point right here, that's it. That's all that's left. What we're going to do is just kind of set this thing to the side, because we're going to be later on uploading all these files and folders into the C drive of the hard drive that's attached to the Xbox. So let's go ahead and do this, get this out of the way, get it done, get it ready, because soon we're going to be uploading this. All right, so here we go. Now the next thing I'm going to do is come over here to the Xbox. I'm going to actually turn the unit on so I can open up the DVD tray and actually put in the DVD for the Rocky 5, right? So you'll see the boot screen come up here. We're going to insert our Rocky 5 little tools extra. And then we're going to go ahead and close the DVD drive closed. And it might sit there and it might not do anything. That's okay. We're probably going to have to try to reboot this. And we might have to hold down the switch for about a second or 2 seconds. You might have to try several times in order to get this thing to boot up to the DVD drive, all right? But once it does, it's going to go and start loading up the soft modding tool. Notice at the bottom it says loading hard mod menu, and hopefully it'll come up with no errors, no problems. And then wait, there we are. there is our modding tool that we're going to be installing the dashboard. And looky here. This network information is from my internal network. Look at the IP address, 192.168.86.50. Now, we got to remember that the password and username is going to be small lowercase Xbox. We're going to be using port 21. Now, what we're going to do now that the Xbox now has an IP address, we're going to come over here to our dashboard menu. And I'm going to go and take a look. I've looked at the MS dashboards, but I'm really interested in installing this new XBMC for gamers, because this is going to be the dashboard that I'm going to want to use in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm going to plan to go ahead and put it where my applications are, which is going to be in the E drive under the XBMC for gamers. Now, at this point, once I decide to go and put that there, I'm going to stop right here. And the reason why is because next I want to copy all of those SIRBIOS files into the hard drive and then move on from there. Well, boys and girls, it's fun time. I'm over here back on my laptop, the gaming laptop, and gotten on the internet, and I went over here to FileZilla site. Now, FileZilla is a free FTP client right here. You may have your own free FTP, or you may have your own favorite ones that you use. Go ahead and use that right there. As for me, I'm going to use FileZilla, and over here at the website, I'm going to go ahead and download the client and then install this onto my laptop. Now, once I go ahead and I install it and get it all ready and get it loaded up and running, here is FileZilla right here. Now, up there at the very top where you see the circles, remember the network information that I got off the Xbox tools, the IP address and so forth? Well, here I'm going to go ahead and put in the 192.168.86.50. The username and the password are both going to be lowercase xbot. Now, that's automatic. That's just something that, Xbox automatically has this for the username password. And we're going to use the port 21. And then what we're going to do is, before we click Quick Connect, we're going to look over here at the left-hand side at the bottom right here. Do you see this area that looks like it's the SIRBIOS folder? Well, I went into that. And as you can see, we have our folders, our BIOS folders, boot admins, all this other stuff in the files in here. Well, I put that there because I'm getting ready, because once we connect, I'm going to copy all those folders and those files into the C drive that's over there connected to the Xbox. So I've got everything put in place. We're going to go ahead and click the Quick Connect button, and then bam, there we are. The little connection is established. Everything looks great. And if you notice over here on the right side, we have our partitions: the C partition, D partition, E partition, F partition, P, and Q. Now, you may be wondering, where the hell did D partition come from, and where did P and Q come from? Well, all I gotta say is that Xbox actually creates its own partitions and does its own little thing right there. And usually P and Q partitions and so forth are going to be set up for caching, and who knows what it's going to use the D drive for, but hey, to its choice, whatever it wants to do. All I know is that we've got the C partition, the E partition, and the F partition. The C is going to be holding our BIOS files for SIRBIOS, the E is going to be for our applications, and the F is going to be for our games. So at this point, I'm going to come over here, and at the left, I'm going to hold down the shift, and then I'm going to scroll, and I'm going to highlight all the folders and all the files, and I'm going to copy them straight to the C drive. So it's just simply transferring on over. And so once they're transferred over, we're all done. And at this point in time, what I'm wanting to do is that I want to come over here to all those games that I downloaded at the very beginning of this video, right? And what I want to do is I only want to take like one game to test it out to make sure, because who knows if this damn thing's going to work or not. But I want to at least test it out with one game to see if it's going to work. And so I went ahead and I took a couple of the files that the games and that are zipped, and I went ahead and I unzipped a couple of them into their folders. And then I decided, well, you know what? The first one I'm going to go ahead and do is 4x4 Evolution 2. Now, I went into the F drive right here on the right hand side, double clicked on the F drive, the partition on the Xbox, and as you can see, I've got 4 folders in there. At the very top, I've got games called Beta and Demo. I've got games called PAL and Japan. I've got Games USA, and I've got the OXM discs type of magazine disc type folder. So I'm going to go and separate and keep my game categories separated and so forth by doing this. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and go into the Games USA folder right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy the unzipped folder for the 4x4 Evolution 2 with the exclamation point. I'm going to copy it on over here under Games USA. And then I'm going to right mouse click on that folder. I'm going to get rid of the brackets and the exclamation mark and just go ahead and make it look just like this right here. I'm going to upload, like I said, one game just for testing, making sure this works. Because if it does work, I'll upload the rest of the games. But now I don't want to spend time doing that. I just want to make sure the damn thing works, okay? Now, if you have any questions or if you kind of interested more in how to transfer these kind of games over into your Xbox, may I suggest going over here to Blaine Locklear's little YouTube video and watching it because it's quite interesting and entertaining. I mean, he does a great job explaining how he goes and transfers his files over to his Xbox from his PC. It's great. Go watch it. I think you're going to love it. He's a great guy. All right. So here we go to the next phase. We're going to be going back to the Xbox. We're going to be going and taking the dashboard, installing the dashboard, rebooting the Xbox, and hopefully, the damn thing is going to boot with animations. Here we go. Coming back to the Xbox, I'm now going to go ahead and install the dashboard. Now, the BIOS files are already on the C drive. So this is going to go and work its magic, copy over everything it needs to copy over. We're going to see real quick if this works. All right, so we reboot. We're getting the Serve BIOS screen. We're just waiting to see if there's going to be any kind of animation coming up. And this is taking a hell of a long time, so I am kind of worried. Come on, baby. Come on. Aha, there we are. Look at that. There's the Serve BIOS freaking animation screen. Now, the next thing I'm going to want to see is the dashboard. If I see the dashboard, perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the system right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the Xbox together because we are practically through. And it's taking too long. Come on now. Come on. There it is. There's our dashboard. Let's pack this baby up and go home. Well, now it's time to take the hard drive and then mount it into its case. And it's really a very simple procedure. All I've got to do is just put the hard drive in there. I'm going to mount the screws and put the connectors on and so forth and get it ready to go. Because, like I said, this is almost in-game. Can't believe it. And do you remember the 80-wire IDE cable that I bought at the very beginning? Well, it turns out what I'm going to need to do is I bought the 24-inch one, which is great. And I'm going to go and fold this thing to be as closely folded as the original cable that came in the Xbox. That way, when I connect it, it'll easily go in and out of little crevices without bunching up and so forth. And now that the Xbox has everything inside of it, including the cables, I turn it on, and does it work? You bet your ass it works. Perfect. This is great. Now I can put the case back on it. And look at this. I put the case on it. You know, I didn't do really such a great paint job on the very, very top. You can definitely tell right there. But you know what? It looks 1,000 times better than what it did. But you know, after going ahead, screwing it all together, putting it together, what can I say? You know, I might make some modifications with the looks and cosmetics of it a little bit later. I'm just glad the damn thing's working at this point. And you know, I got a lot more ways to go when it comes to this baby. I'm just so thankful she works. Well, folks, there's almost one last thing to do. Back in the 2000s, these used to use video and audio connector, RCA connectors. But you know what? Here in the modern age, it's all HDMI. And you know what? It's about time we go ahead and toss this old technology away and get rid of it and replace it. And you know what? I found the Electron XL from Xbox. You know, there was a lot of reviews online over on Reddit and some on YouTube that folks were raving about this thing. Now, of course, there's some of the HDMI type of systems that you can actually mod and place inside the Xbox. They're supposed to be really, really good. But everybody that has bought one of these, and they're very, very inexpensive, and has tried them, they have actually raved about it. They absolutely love it. They say it's the best of all of them that are out there. They love it. And it's hard to believe because, you know, this part right here plugs right straight into the Xbox itself. And then it takes the digital signals that's coming into it. And somehow it does a great job on processing and upscaling straight to HDMI. You know, this is going to be really, really cool because if this works, this is absolutely going to be the cherry on top of the cake. I'm really, really looking forward to this, man. This is going to be so freaking great trying this. You know, like I said, when it comes to HDMI, that's the only way to go nowadays, boys and girls. But you know, let's try it out and see how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and power up my Xbox. Let's take a look here. Oh, wow. Now, folks, you can't see this from the video because I'm taking this video from my potato phone, which has terrible resolution and has like interface or interlatent type of distortion and shit. But you can definitely tell standing here looking at this, this is a big, huge difference. The animation just looked amazing. Far, far better than the RCA cables that I had plugged into it. Oh man, now all I gotta do is just wait for it to go ahead and boot up into the dashboard, and which just takes a little bit of time, but you know, such is life, right? And you know what? Looking at this, I can actually see this. I can actually see. Now I said there's interference scan lines and so forth, but that's it, the monitor, the shit monitor that I have here, and my potato phone. And earlier I went ahead and I made a profile off of this called Games USA just to test things out with. And let's take a look at it. Wow. I wish you could see this. This thing is absolutely amazing. So we're going to go ahead and take it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can definitely tell a big difference with the HDMI converter. Absolutely. Looking at this right here, I'm going to go into games and I'm going to go ahead and pull up that single game that I uploaded, the 4x4, and let's see how it looks. Gotta wait for the game. Good old godgames.com. Well, what do you know? Now, it looks like, looking at this right here, it looks like it's going into 480p mode. Now, all I got to say is that for 480p mode, standing where I'm standing looking at this looks absolutely amazing. Now, this little device right here has like an automatic feature, or I can preset to go ahead and go into 720 or 1080. But you know, looking at it right here, standing in front, looking at this right here, going off at 480. So far, I am really, really impressed. And you know what? This thing is going to be so badass looking in 720 and 1080. Haha, dude. I absolutely urge anyone out there with an Xbox, if you've got 50 bucks laying around and you're still using those silly RCA connectors with the audio connectors, throw them to the side. Go ahead and get you one of these Electron X-Out devices. Plug into your nice little Xbox, update it. You will really love this video quality that I'm seeing right now. And like I said, I've just got to go into the settings and set it up. Wow. I am so glad I did this. Thank you, Eric, my son, for going and turning me on to the Xbox and saying I should mod it. It is so hard to believe that this is the end of an extremely long 2-month journey. And you know, for those of you that went ahead and watched this video completely in its full, I just want to reach out and just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Like I said, when I started this about 2 months ago, I really had no nostalgia and no feelings towards the Xbox because I really never even played it. I was never really into it. But you know, during these 2 months of having to wait for shipping, getting parts in, finding out what worked and what didn't work, starting out from the very beginning of not knowing anything about the Xbox to getting pretty good at it, you know, I am really, really thankful. And you know, I hope for those of you out there that appreciate me making such an incredibly long storytelling freaking video right here about my journey with Xbox. I just want to hope that you go and at least follow me, subscribe, like, whatever you do. Go ahead and support me in some way, you know. Show me some love out here. Because, you know, I guess the next part of the journey right here is just actually beginning. I mean, take a look at all these freaking games and take a look at this dashboard right here. This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I'm going to be able to download all the artwork, and I'm going to have to fumble around with the settings and try to figure out exactly how to set this up in a way that I'm going to enjoy. But you know what? I want it set up exactly how I'm seeing it right here. And you know, don't know how long it's going to take to go ahead and upload all of these games by FTP up to this damn game box. And I don't know how long it's going to take to set it up. But you know what? That's just a part of the next adventure and a part of the next story. So for all of you out there that followed me through this, lots of love, lots of appreciation. Hey, y'all be good to each other out there. Thank you so much again. And you know what? Leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let me know how you liked it and what your experience has been with Xbox, okay? I look forward to hearing from all of you. And like I said, I wish everyone out there nothing less than peace.